Welcome to the Mindful Healers podcast with
Dr. Jessie Mahoney
and Dr. Ni-Cheng Liang.
We are here to help you learn to pause and be present, awaken your breath, and harness the ripple effects of mindfulness for radiant health.
We get you. We know you. We are you.
We have both been successful on the surface, yet struggling underneath. We have both had cluttered brains, been overwhelmed, and exhausted.
We're healers who have found solutions and want to share them with you.
Join us here to discover a better way.
Welcome to today's episode. A reminder that our podcast is not medical advice. Our intention for today's podcast is that when you intentionally take a pause to attend to mind, body, and spirit, all at the same time, it is powerful medicine.
We hope you will discover that a purposeful pause is often even more impactful than just a pause. And especially when in that pause, you nourish yourself fully with food, nature, movement, space, sleep, and human connection. Full nourishment sets you up for more optimal healing, recovery, growth, and transformation.
Some takeaways from today's podcast include the fact that taking time for yourself for a total immersion experience is a way to shift your perspective. And it's a necessity in your life to build in respite for yourself. Do not hesitate. You are worth it.
So to start today's discussion, I wanted to share this idea that health does not come just from medicine. Health comes from peace of mind, peace of heart, a peaceful soul, and from love and laughter. And when we attend to and nourish all of these areas of ourselves as a human, all at the same time, that's when the magic and the true healing and the true health emerge. And pausing is powerful. Pausing and being present is even more powerful. And pausing and being present and choosing what you want to do in that time is truly nourishing. And when you choose something to do while you're pausing and being present, that's nourishing to yourself, that is where the real shifts can occur.
So many people experience a lot of guilt about choosing to go on a retreat so that one can pause and be present. Some questions that might act as barriers for taking some respite are, what will the family do? Who's going to cover my in-basket? For those of us in clinical medicine, will it be a burden on others? What they don't realize, though, are that retreats are a way to reset, a way to come back in alignment with your authentic self.
And some other questions that come to mind are, what might the benefits be? What if it's an opportunity for others to support you? What if a healed, nourished, and rejuvenated you is worth any inconvenience that might show up for others? What might it feel like to allow yourself to receive for a few days rather than to always give? And what if, in fact, there were no inconvenience to others? And in fact, what emerged were stronger relationships and pride that others did so well, potentially without you.
I think in thinking about these questions hopefully empower you, dear listener, to think about the possibility of retreating for yourself. So, Jessie, why did you decide to offer coaching and yoga retreats? Because as I recall in the process of it all, this was a very spur of the moment decision. And now, poof, you have 3 more that are scheduled in the future.
And this is sort of how I roll. So I am going to take this moment to just be amused with myself and to say that what really happened is that I couldn't not offer them. And I couldn't not offer them because I'm someone who, when I'm truly inspired and feel like there's something that needs to be shared and some amazingness that could happen, for me not to pursue that and figure out how I can create it and make it happen would not be acting from an authentic place. And so what happened was that I discovered this incredibly beautiful space in nature that when I was there, I felt instantly like a different human. And so I first off wanted to share that space with others, knowing that coming out of the pandemic and this time of isolation and not being able to go places, that a sense of space that felt so amazing was really powerful. And then this space, of course, did also happen to have a yoga studio and happened to have all of the amenities necessary to host sort of a small group retreat, which was really important to me. And then I had in my day done a lot of retreats when I worked for a big HMO. And I knew that bringing coaching and yoga together in a retreat was a way to really make a powerful impact. And then to be able to do that in a really beautiful location with delicious food and comfy beds in a small group size where people really had individual attention and personal connections with all of the other people just felt too good to be true. And so I just decided that I would just do it.
Yeah, and that group and connection is so important for the experience of the retreat, because there's a healing in the gathering of human connection.
And in-person human connection, which yes. I think we've so missed. You know, I love teaching yoga on Zoom for certain reasons, because it allows people from all over the country to join me and relationships to form, and it's easy to attend. And as we've talked about before, there's power in being in a Zoom box where you have some privacy. And I love coaching on Zoom for many of the same reasons. And yet the power of being in person with other humans in a shared space and doing that same work is really incredible. And what a retreat offers is the idea of bringing those people so you can still come from afar because it's consolidated and, you know, in a few days. And so it really does offer this unique opportunity that's not really available, in my mind, through any other modality.
So from your perspective, why is it helpful to pause and intentionally separate yourself from your usual day-to-day life?
Well, the pause creates space. And in that space is where we can see more clearly and begin to actually feel and notice where we are. I think in the last retreat I did, I noticed that it took people, 24 to 48 hours to sort of settle and be present and really be able to see where they were and begin to see where they wanted to go. And so if we don't pause and we're trying to do this work in the middle of our lives, we can still do it, but it takes a lot longer. And you don't have that separation and space to sort of look from afar. It reminds me a bit of mindfulness, where mindfulness, we kind of look from the outside in. And when you take yourself out of your usual setting, it's much easier to see what's going on and to separate out and connect better with what's getting in your way and what the barriers are. I find that I often can't see them when you're in the midst of them. And for those of us who are parents, I think there's so many distractions. The other thing about being away from everything is that you can really attend to the mind, body, and spirit all at the same time. And we were talking the other day about the Mindful Healthcare Collective and how we really do try to address all of these components, mind, body, and spirit, but that oftentimes it's hard to do it in just 1 hour event. And so we do it with multiple events and bringing things together. But in the retreat setting, you can really address mind with the coaching and the mindfulness and the space and the quiet and the time to be still and be with yourself. And you can address body at the same time with the yoga and nature and sleep and food, really delicious food. And then you can address your spirit with the human connection and the nature and the yoga and self-compassion work and doing all of that so that you can integrate it all together. And I'm all about synergy. And what I noticed actually in the last retreat was how much the yoga added to people's ability to discover self-compassion and explore things in their mind that would be much more difficult to explore, for example, doing coaching over Zoom, because they were able to build the self-compassion through yoga in the morning. And then as they approached coaching and approached doing some of that work, they were in a completely different space to address it. And that's where I think the pause is really powerful. And the energy of space is also really powerful. And when I talk about that I could not do it, these retreats, it's because the energy of that space is just magical. And so the energy of being in a space with, in a space of nature, and then with other people and human connection, and then being in a space sharing experiences and having a shared experience, which is not really possible unless you take a pause and become part of a new group of people who are doing the work together.
Your reflection brought up this idea of turning down the volume so that we can listen to ourselves when we go in retreat. Because when we're in our day-to-day life, the volume of our environment is much louder. But when we go to a retreat, we have this opportunity to quiet down the environment so that we can listen to ourselves.
And for me, nature actually just completely changes the volume of everything. When I am in nature, the volume, sometimes actually the volume is noisier, right? With birds or crickets or frogs, but that the volume and maybe vibrational frequency feels completely different. And that allows you to notice and be aware, and then to be more receptive and able to make some shifts. And the yoga piece also, being able to practice yoga multiple days in a row and multiple types of yoga. And so restorative yoga, and being able to sort of run through what I would call a sequence. Each yoga class has its own sequence, but when you are in the same group of people doing yoga over 5 days, you can actually focus on different themes in the yoga that build upon one another and build upon the work that people are doing. And that goes beyond yoga as just sort of exercise and strengthening and stretching. And in fact, you just mentioned someone who had been on the last retreat who talked about learning to drop her shoulders, and that she had never understood what that was before. And to me, dropping your shoulders is something that goes so far beyond dropping your shoulders, because you can't really learn to drop your shoulders unless you let go of all the weight and the tension that's in your neck and in all those muscles. And that is not just tension, it's all of the other thoughts and all of the life experience. And that's sort of the power of putting all these things together, that being able to understand the breath and being able to do the movement and be in this sort of beautiful space and beautiful room helps you integrate all these other changes more fully, and your brain to be willing to take up new ideas and rewire in a more efficient, more effective way that's actually really truly easeful. So it's not like forcing towards something. It just happens in this beautiful way.
So who are your retreats intended for?
They are intended for women in healthcare. So not exclusively physicians, though because I'm a physician, I will offer that most people who come are physicians. But I believe in really supporting the whole healthcare team, and that we have many shared experiences, those of us who are women and who happen to work in healthcare. And they're really designed to address women who are exhausted, needing healing, needing space, and perhaps feeling that they're stuck or broken or burnt out or just struggling. So on the surface, they look successful. And that's actually what I always say. My coaching is designed to help women who are successful on the surface, but struggling underneath. And so many women in healthcare fit that description. But you don't have to be a yoga fanatic or someone who can stand on your head or stand on your shoulders or do arm balances. It's really open to anyone who wants to start a practice of yoga or who wants to up-level their practice of yoga. I do think the nature for me is a big component. And so to not be, you know, you're not in a spa or a fancy hotel, you're in nature, really being and willing to be there for the experience and for other people who are there. So different than, say, a conference, which usually has a lot of attendees and doesn't necessarily have that same human connection and interaction, and different than a course that maybe happens over time. It's really more of an immersion experience. And so people who are looking for that.
And why do you call your retreats nourish and transform?
So for those of you who listened to the podcast a few weeks ago, to me, nourishment is like the prerequisite to transforming. And so you can't really transform from an empty, tortured, exhausted, burnt out space. And so when you fully nourish yourself, body, mind, and spirit, the transformation that's possible is so much more easeful and so much more fluid and natural, and also tends to stick. So it's not a forced transformation that then when you get back to your life, you go backwards. The other thing is, of course, that Anne Kennard joins me, and she includes some culinary medicine. And so the food is actually truly nourishing and delicious. And so there is this component, and her cookbook is called Nourish. And so it's sort of this idea of nourishing all of the senses and nourishing by mind, body, and spirit.
And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Jessie, because in the country now, and hopefully it'll stay this way, the offers and the invitations for courses and for retreats, for wellness conferences, there are a lot that are being offered in late 2021 into 2022. And so what makes the Nourish and Transform retreat unique and makes it stand out from all of these other different offerings?
So in my mind, it's the approach and the philosophy, really very personalized, individualized. The focus is really on mindfulness and transforming. So it's not on the 5 days that you're there, though they're magical and amazing, but it's wanting to immerse yourself in these experiences and to head back home as sort of a different version of yourself. And I'm reminded of someone who came to the last retreat who spoke about how she came feeling powerless and full of shame, and left feeling content and proud. And the thought that you would come from a place where you wanted help and needed help and were really wanting something different for your life and to heal and grow, and to be willing to do that work and engage and be vulnerable and show up. And so I think it's a bit different than, say, a conference or an empowerment conference, in the sense that you're there in a small community wanting to make connections with others and yourself.
So as always, we like to close our podcast episodes with some reflection questions.
When have your pauses been the most restorative?
What are the experiences that have helped you reset? rejuvenate, and grow the most?
What if you gave yourself permission to nurture yourself, giving yourself time, energy, and space to do so?
So, Jessie, how can people find out more about Nourish and Transform?
You can find out more on my webpage. There's a page that's dedicated to yoga and retreats. You can also find out more about what yoga with me is like by checking out my YouTube channel and taking a class there. Or you can join me for the Mindful Healthcare Collective yoga classes that are about every other weekend. And that will give you a sense of what they're like. They are being offered at the end of August this year and in spring wildflower season next year in March and April. And I would love to meet any of you and connect with any of you and have you reach out and ask questions about what it's like. And even if these retreats are not for you, we are all unique and every person finds different things nourishing and nurturing. I would encourage all of you to take a pause and an intentional pause and really think about what you want to do with your pauses. I think just like in life, we often take our vacations as things to do, or I need to do this, and to really think about what happens in that pause and in that space, and how can you use it to take really exceptional care of yourself. And for those of you who have difficulty giving yourself permission, I encourage you to just take the risk. See what happens if just once you gave yourself permission. What if it works out way better than you expect?
If you are enjoying our podcasts, please leave us stars and reviews, and please share. Thank you so much for joining us. Please stay on after the sound of the bell for our mindful moment.
As always, if you want to declutter your mind, be more present, and start truly living your one wild and precious life, come find us at the mindfulhealerspodcast.com.
Work with one of us.
Work with both of us.
Start or up-level your mindfulness practice.
Discover how mindful coaching can change your life.
Or even better, do both as part of our Mindful Healers programs and retreats. You can find links to find out more about our programs and join our communities at themindfulhealerspodcast.com.
Reach out and get started on your journey to a life better lived today.
The content of this podcast is not meant to be medical or life advice. If you choose to participate in our mindful moments, please do so safely.
Welcome to the mindful moment. Take a moment to find a spot that is safe to relax completely. If you're driving, please opt out. Wherever you may be, ground your sit bones into the earth beneath you if you're sitting, and notice your feet upon the earth if you're standing. Tilt your pelvis forward slightly, grow your spine long and tall, and drop your shoulders with intention. Take in a deep inhale through your nose and an exhale through your mouth. Take a moment to land fully in your body, giving yourself the gift of a pause and a gift of attention and a gift of a moment to just be. Take in another deep inhale through your nose and an exhale through your mouth. Place your left hand atop your heart, if it's safe to do so. Press the heel of your hand gently into that heart space, releasing a bit of oxytocin or kindness to self. Let the oxytocin seep into every nook and cranny as the blood circulates throughout your body. Take in another deep inhale through your nose, nourishing each and every cell, and an exhale, letting things go. Place your right hand atop the left hand. Press in gently, slightly, a little bit more. Release a little bit more oxytocin, kindness to self. Take in another deep inhale and exhale. And sit for a moment and just reflect on the idea of being present for yourself. Learn to be present for yourself, fully present in a way that's new and delightful. Be present for your thoughts and emotions. Be present for the gentle way in which your heart and body lead you. Be present fully for each step of your growth and each step of your journey. Take in another deep inhale through your nose and an exhale. Connect once again with your hand to heart. Send yourself some appreciation and gratitude for the journey to be here, wherever you are in your life in this moment. Can you value yourself, who you are, and what you think and feel, and how you grow? Perhaps for many years you neglected yourself. It was as though you were unconscious of who you were, how you felt, and what you believed. Perhaps you believed that this kept you safe, protected from you, protected from feelings you didn't want to feel. Perhaps you believed it was how you should live, but now you are learning another way. Survival is no longer enough. It does not meet the needs of your heart and your soul. Now, perhaps you want to live fully and joyfully, and to do that, you must be present for yourself. Once again, connect the heel of your hand to your heart, to yourself. Can you listen to your heart? What is it telling you? What is happening there? Take in a deep inhale once again, full of kindness and compassion for all that you are. Breathing out all that you are not. Would you like to also be fully present for others, present for the spirits, the emotions, and the words that others have to say to you, and to be especially present for the hearts of others? What if you no longer have to fear losing or neglecting yourself to be present for others? What if you can do this now? Not be consumed by their needs, not become trapped in the workings of their lives, but by being present for yourself, taking a pause to be with yourself, to learn about yourself, to know yourself, and to show up as yourself fully and completely for others. How does that feel? Could it be possible? What if you could give yourself the gift of time and space to know and to listen and to be present with yourself? Take in another deep inhale, full of kindness and compassion to self. And an exhale, releasing everything. Take a final moment here just to notice how you feel. Notice the tingles anywhere that they may have spread and enjoy it. Notice the strength of the earth underneath your sit bones. Take a moment to draw up the strength and stability and firmness and presence of the earth in this moment, right up through you. Send it to that pocket behind your heart. All of it and all of you present in this moment, full of kindness and compassion and presence for you and for others. Everyone being taken care of. Slowly lower your hands to your thighs. Open your eyes if they were closed. Let the light back in and allow yourself to come back into this moment, this present moment. Thanks so much for joining me and for sharing in this mindful moment. Some of the passage that I read was an adaptation from a reading called Being Present for Yourself in Journey to the Heart by Melanie Beattie. We'll see you next week. Enjoy a mindful, present week with lots of moments of pause for you. Namaste.